rowing in a deep blue sea. He'll put an end to your last place living and give you the victory. Then we can say, I've read the back of the book and we win. No more living in darkness, we'll be living at home with him. You see, there ain't no need to worry about it if you're born again. I read the back of the book and we win. I read the back of the book and we win. No more living in darkness, we'll be living at home with him.
You see, there ain't no need to worry about it if you're born again.
I read the back of the book and we win. I read the back of the book and we win. No more living in darkness, we'll be living at home with him.
You see, there ain't no need to worry about it if you're born again.
I read the back of the book and we win.
Ain't no need to worry about it
If you're born again, I read the back. I read the back. I read the back of the book and we win. So I remember this time years and years ago when my dad, my mom, my sister, and I were driving to Alabama from South Florida. This was before the days of every kid had to be in a child restraint device. So my sister and I got bored, but we decided that playing a fishing game would be the most appropriate thing to do. Clearly, we didn't have any fishing poles in the back of our car, and so we decided to get the next best thing. Well, I tell you what, does anybody recognize this? If you answered, yeah, this is a bungee cord, you are absolutely correct. However, to a kid, this is a fishing pole with a fishing line. To an adult, this becomes a tooth extraction device. What do I mean by that? So my sister and I, going back to the story, Michelle and I decided to start playing fishing. And I was the fish and she was the fisherman. Being the intelligent child that I was, decided that the fish was too big for her line. And as we were stretching it out, as much as it can be, I decided to let go like the fish absolutely spit the hook out of his mouth. And just about that time, it popped Michelle right in the front tooth, busting her tooth out. And therefore, for those of you who didn't know, Michelle actually has a cap or something to help her with her smile, because I was the one that ruined Michelle's smile years and years ago, and my father didn't care for that too much. So anyway, that's what you may not know about Michelle. Even as beautiful as she is, the tooth that you may be looking at may not actually be real because of the fishing incident in the back of the car with the tooth extraction device. So in another story that I recall, if any of you know Michelle really, really well today, she's probably not as good at this today as she was years ago, back in our preteen years and even through our teenage years. Michelle was an absolute master at this. She could take something, and if it was wrong, somehow strategically shift the blame to me. I became the quote-unquote scapegoat of the Thrift household, where when Michelle did something, it was all of a sudden my fault. And let me tell you what I mean by this. I'm not saying that it happened every time, but it happened. And the story goes like this. So my family was really good friends with another family that had 3 daughters. And this was something that we decided at one time that all 3 of the daughters were going to sleep over with Michelle. And I was the only boy in the house. And all 3 daughters plus Michelle and I actually decided to play a game within the house commonly known as, I believe it was hide and seek. Well, Mom and Dad were okay with this, and everybody seemed okay with this up until the time where in our small house in Miramar, Florida, one of the sisters decided that it would be a great idea to open up Michelle's door really hard and fast. And because our rooms were so small back then, the dresser was sitting close to the door, and the back portion of the door actually struck the side of the dresser, putting a large hole within the back of the door. This frightened all 3 young ladies. It also frightened Michelle. Obviously, my father heard all the commotion and heard the door slam and came running that way, at which point Michelle decided to lead the group of saying that it was my fault, that I was the one that slammed the door into the dresser. This clearly did not happen because I was hiding in another bedroom and had no idea what had actually happened. And without further ado, my father lovingly takes his belt of correction, the rod of correction, and decides to whip me to the point where I cried uncontrollably. This, of course, made the girls quite deathly afraid. However, none of them ever actually came through, up until the point where several minutes later, finally I stopped crying. One of them, or either maybe it was Michelle, actually came through and said it wasn't me that actually did it, that it was one of the others. Therefore, my dad profusely apologized to me after the incident. However, ice bags were still needed, and my pride still needed to pick itself up off of the floor. That didn't stop her manipulation of still blaming me, but I think she may have some still sorrowful feelings within her, even though she's apologized for that. Hopefully that was a huge learning lesson, and maybe her husband Mike is not getting blamed for nowhere near the amount of things that he has absolutely nothing to do with at the current time. Hope you enjoyed that story. So I could sit here all day and possibly go through numerous stories that my sister and I had experienced back when we were younger, and multiple neat vacations and great things, and actually getting along pretty well. We didn't really fight all that often, other than a few times. But for the most part, we had a great life growing up. She was a great sister to me, and wanted to just give a shout out to her. She, for those of you that know her, she has a phenomenal voice. She's a phenomenal Christian. She's giving. She is great with children. She loves my children like they're her own. They love her just like she's not their aunt, but just like a mother. And I see the multiple benefits and the multiple things that she's doing to reach out to young children there in Central Alabama. And so just wanted to say how proud I am of you for doing what you're doing, for living out your calling, not only as a sister, but as a wife and as a minister of the gospel. So I know there's a special place in heaven for you, and there'll be many jewels in your crown once you finally reach the other side, and as we spend eternity in heaven together. So keep doing what you're doing, Michelle. You're doing a great job, and as your brother, I'm very extremely proud of you and the work that you're doing for the kingdom of God. Love you. Hope you enjoyed this time, and I look forward to seeing every one of you, including you, Michelle, sometime really soon. Wish I could be there on your special day today.